Alright, this is the third part, or the third addendum to number 7, and I just wanted to show you something. If you've watched this series all the way through, you've really seen how the EQ, how you can automate it to go all around. And in number 7, we're talking about removing frequencies and distortion, all kinds of things like that. And I know this concept is really, it's very complex, and it's, if you get into it, that it's very specific. It can do a lot of cool things, but just knowing it can do it, and maybe not being an audio engineer, that it may open some doors for you. And one thing I wanted to show you is that I had done a little bit of that same automation with these two frequencies, and I wanted to kind of show you something. That I've got this going along. I've got this phase inverted, so basically that this here, don't worry about this right here, but coming off, it's splitting. It's going off in here into this EQ, and then I've got the mix tool over here on the other side. This phase inverter I have here, I'm just using because I have a volume knob on it to boost it so I can hear what I was doing. But if you watch their videos, you got a pretty good understanding what I'm doing. Now, the issue is that if you look at the frequency content over here, anytime any of these get adjusted at all, that it's obviously going to start allowing audio through, correct? So you understand that. So if it's doing it all, letting anything through there, that it's going to start letting audio come through here. And obviously just with the processor itself, it's allowing a little bit of audio through. But here's the cool thing to understand about trying to use this for phase cancellation. Now I've got the Q set up really high on this, but if I just start bringing that down just a little bit, you all of a sudden start seeing the primary frequency come through. Does that make sense? And the tighter the Q is you can get on it, the more sideband distortion, any lower noise floor distortion, anything else, the more of it that will get canceled, and it'll allow less and less through. Does that make sense? And if you come to the next one, you can see I'll drop that down a little bit also and start letting that second frequency come out. Now you can actually see that for the most part on this track that the second frequency is nowhere near the same loudness as the primary frequency, but you've seen the primary frequency and the secondary frequency, the second harmonic. And you can see that it's in spots louder than the first frequency, which gives you an idea that phase cancellation is actually working in this concept. And if you come down here, if you launch around here, around 2, and you look at this frequency coming up, popping up right below 2 but between 2K, it's about 18K or 1800 hertz or something. But you watch it from the beginning of this track that it's coming up to about, it's peaking up there probably about, not very high. You see it coming up there, and it's not coming up very high at all. But if I come over here and I just drop this down 1, look what just happened. Some of the other frequencies starting to pop up with it a little bit, but that frequency, when it's hitting, it's popped way up there. Does that make sense? I mean, it's come all the way up to like minus 56 dB. So some of this work over here is minute, to where when you're doing adjustments, you might be doing minus 0.1 sometimes, just to let a little bit of it through, so that you don't let a whole bunch of other stuff come through. Does that make sense? Because I kicked that up like that, and you can see what it's done. It's how much it kicked it up when it starts from the beginning, what it was doing. And it's not letting a whole lot of too much other stuff. It's letting some of that in, but I do believe that's because my automation wasn't accurate enough. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, but I went through and I did somewhere. I basically just wanted to do a demonstration so that you could see what it does. And to understand that this whole concept of this phase cancellation, using that with your automation, that you can actually use it like that to actually, phase cancellate in process. That means that, you've got the track, you've thrown a phase inverter on the other side of it, and then you've got an EQ there, and you're just barely notching to start letting some of those frequencies out. And if you've automated every one of those timbers across it, for the most part, you'll find that I think some of the other frequencies will escape through because of the whole nature of phase cancellation. If it's not an exact duplicate of, an inverse of the original wave, that it doesn't cancel. Well, it kind of does, so that's you can debate about that till doomsday, but the problem is that it does partially cancellate like that, which is a huge tool, because you can use it in little teeny degrees like that, going through your track or going through something that you're trying to edit, or you've got an issue with some part that you want to cut on either side of an event, and then do some phase cancellation on that part of the track, or that on anything. Does that make sense? And this, I wasn't trying to get too specific about that. If you've watched all the other videos from this series, that basically most of these concepts would make sense, and this phase cancellation on this it's a huge tool, because basically you have something that's going to suppress the noise floor and is going to suppress a lot of the other harmonic content. And not only is it suppressing just the harmonic content, the tighter you get the Q on this up here, it seems from experimentation that it actually starts working on the sideband distortion. The problem is you have to slow that track way down and be really super accurate with your automation. Does that make sense, to where it's falling around just about perfect? And that takes some work, but that's a huge tool, that you actually using phase cancellation to stop the noise. Any other noise in the track or harmonic content, you've got a frequency up in here that's coming through, and so you've targeted these frequencies around here in your phase cancel, but that one you don't want to get, so you're not even touching that. And if it doesn't cancel it out completely, it's going to definitely reduce it a lot. Does that make sense? And if you can get it reduced a lot and then boost the track up on the other end with some type of volume, a gain knob on the other end of your parallel processing there, that it's a huge tool for helping you clean up distortion, or non-wanted harmonic content and other noises in the background you want to try to cancel out with phase cancellation, but preserve the frequencies and the harmonic content that you want. But I'm not going to get into that too much. I just kind of wanted to address that whole issue and that whole concept that you see right there. It takes some work. And you basically, if you followed everything up to this point, that you've got a pretty good understanding, if you've been working on any of it, that, jumping and doing it with this isn't going to be that big a deal. Just from the outside look, I mean, it's a complex issue. Phase cancellation, is a complex deal. Plus, sometimes it's not exact. It's not really exact, especially doing it like this, because it's really hard. You're dealing with a moving, flowing object all over the place, and you're trying to phase cancel as you move along. And the object, phase cancellation, if you could isolate those frequencies that you want to keep and away from all the noise, so that you could phase cancel the noise, what would be the point of trying to do that? Because if you've already isolated those frequencies away, there wouldn't be any point in phase canceling them, right? So that isn't an option, I mean, this is the only real option of trying to deal with it in this context. But there's another huge tool, and something to experiment with and to use, and something that you might pull out of your hat sometime and go, whoa, I can use some phase cancellation on this with my EQ and automation, and I might be able to really clean this up really well and do some things that, that are really cool, with just some tools in your DAW, that you're not buying a new plug-in or nothing. So anyway, I hope that was pretty clear, and I certainly hope that you can understand that. And if you watch other videos, you probably understand that fairly well. And the concept of what it does was basically what I was trying to get across. I wasn't trying to make a video on exactly how to do it for this or that, the other thing. The concept, if you understand the concept of what it's doing and you watch other videos, there's the concept of self, that tool is available, and how or where you might use it, that you think about that, and the applications can be very obvious with anything that you want to use that in. It's just the concept itself being revealed to you, so that it's another tool that you do have. It's another new type of screwdriver that you didn't know you had. Anyway, peace, hope, love, and have a nice day.